Hey everyone, welcome. How's everyone doing today? Okay, all right, we're gonna do that again. How's everyone doing today? All right, that's better, that's better. Welcome. How's everyone doing today? Great. Oh boy, it's gonna be a long presentation. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming to our session. My name is Brendan. I'm co-founder of a company called Knak. Excited to be here today. I'm just going to take a quick poll here of the audience. Who here is here to see me speak today? Okay. There's one guy in the back there. Thanks. Great. Anybody here to see Jeff from OpenAI speak today? Yeah. All right. Great stuff. Well, just a really quick introduction on me. I am a career enterprise marketer, and one of the reasons why we started Knak is because creating campaigns was always difficult. It was always tough and technical. And we set out to solve that, me and my co-founder, Pierce, who's also a marketer. And so now we're working with some of the fastest growing companies on the planet, and we're excited to be talking to you today about how we're working with OpenAI to help accelerate and define their production, basically how they produce campaigns at OpenAI. So just a really quick story before I introduce Jeff here, but I was at the gym this morning so that I could say I went to the gym in this presentation, okay? And I was thinking, and one of the big parts of my job now is relationships, okay? Relationships are very complicated. It's a hard job, okay? But one of the things that I learned a long time ago is that one of the foundational aspects of relationships is eye contact. Okay, so just a word of advice for everybody. I learned that a long time ago because before I got married, I dated a girl who had a lazy eye, and it turned out she was seeing someone else the whole time. Unbelievable. Anyway, I'd like to welcome Jeff to the stage. That was bad. Thank you for the feedback. Appreciate it. Clicker, yeah.
I get my very own hype man. This is great. I keep Brendan with me at all times now. Just to before a hard meeting, Brendan will go in and tell a really bad joke. A great joke. Cool. Well, super excited to be here today. Really thrilled to be here with Knak. Pierce, I remember when we were at Adobe or the Marketo Summit way back in the day, bitching about how hard email is, and now look at where we are. Woo. Cool. Well, let's go ahead and jump right in. Quick introduction. I'll do a quick introduction, and then I want to take you on a little journey. My journey with AI. Because I was in your seat not that long ago trying to figure out what the fuck to do with AI because I just didn't understand. I said I wasn't going to say the F word, and I started off right with it. My mother's going to be real mad at me. Tell her I'm doing a presentation. She says, don't say the F word. Fuck that, Mom. Just damn it. Hopefully this isn't being recorded. Cool. So a little bit about me. I am a marketer at heart. I've been doing marketing for 20 years across just the craziest eclectic group of different industries, clinical trial technology, petrochemical pricing, fashion, ad tech, and now I work at a frontier lab running their marketing operations. I just hit my 2-year mark, which puts me at the top 20%, 80% of the company was hired after me. So I've seen a lot of change today, but definitely a lot of change in the 2 years that I've been there. But throughout all of the stuff that I've done, I've considered myself a technologist at heart. Even when I was running events, I liked the event technology, which I will never, ever say again, because event tech is difficult. And then outside of work, I love to travel. I have a dog named Scout who I rescued a couple years ago. I am a big sourdough baker, and I'm also a big music lover. I'm going to go see the B-52s here tomorrow, which happens to be my birthday, and it's actually somebody else's birthday today, so I was hoping that you might join me in singing a quick little song for Brendan, whose birthday it is today. Can you join me? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Brendan. Happy birthday to you. You're welcome. I didn't have that music lover. I had other shit in there, and then I was like, no, I have to do this. And then he goes up today when we're practicing. He's like, you know what I would really love if like 300 people sang me happy birthday on my birthday. And I was like, you asshole. Like that was my surprise that I was going to do. Well, you got to be careful what you say around me. Anyway, I know you aren't here for like my bullshit, so let's get into some real talk. I had a coworker named James, great guy, and he'd always come up and say, real talk. And I always knew that like, it was time to listen, right? We're being asked to do a lot as marketers. How many people are like marketing in this room? Cool. What about marketing ops? Great. You guys probably feel it. We're being asked to do all of these, achieve all of these goals, do all of these things, but our headcount's shrinking. Our budgets are getting rearranged. It's kind of crazy. There's a lot. I have a team of 2. I used to have a team of 15 that was doing half the amount of work that this team of 2 is doing. On the flip side, our customers and our prospects are demanding more. When I'm wearing my consumer hat, if you send me an email or an SMS that isn't hyper-personalized, I'm unsubscribing. I'm ending that relationship because I know how much data you have about me. So you should be engaging with me in a hyper-personalized way. And then we get these top-down pushes that like, hey, go and do AI. Well, what the fuck does that mean? Like, I know how to use ChatGPT, but how does that translate into a marketing campaign? Right? So, like I said, we're going to go on a little journey. 2 years ago when I started at OpenAI, basically, like, people would be like, hey, can you come do a presentation about how OpenAI is using AI in marketing ops? I was like, yeah, 3 slides. We are not. Maybe the 4th one will say the end. And I could curtsy and walk off. But I was working at the frontier lab, and I didn't know how to translate that into actually doing my job. I went and I was like, all right, dear AI, please do all the things. And I did say please because it's important to say please and thank you. It's really not. And I tried to build basically, I need to do all these things. Let's do them, right? So build all the things. Like, read the requests. This is a very large build, so just bear with me. We're doing everything. Like, walk the dog. Oopsie, it's so large I've skipped over it. Like, do all of these things. And the result, I failed. Epically. Nothing worked. I got frustrated. I threw my computer. Well, I didn't actually do it, but I wanted to throw my computer out the window because I was just so frustrated that things weren't working. Like, this is supposed to be this game-changing technology. Why can't I get it to upload a list for me? But I took a step back once my blood pressure went down and was like, okay, well, why am I failing at this, right? Put my operational hat on. I like to solve problems. And started thinking through, what was I doing wrong? Like, was I prompting it wrong? Was I doing it? Like, no, I was trying to do all of the things at once. I'm an old school Marketo guy, and I have been up on these stages talking about Marketo, and like a smart campaign should do like 1, maybe 2 things. And I was trying to build a smart campaign that was doing 475 things. So when something failed, I didn't know what it was. I didn't realize that one small change in a prompt upstream could have a dramatic effect on the 47th step. The second thing is that I omitted a bunch of context to these agents, to these things that I was trying to build. I had brand guidelines, I had naming conventions, I had UTM parameter naming conventions all up in my head, but I hadn't shared any of that. And then I was getting pissed off that the machine didn't know how to build. Well, like, I know how to do that. Why don't you know how to do it? I told you to put UTMs in there. Why did you put UTM dash source? Like, asshole. Like, oh. And then I lacked foundations. I started at OpenAI, and we couldn't send an email from an OpenAI email domain. So I was trying to do all of these crazy things, but I didn't have the foundational technology, the foundational data, or really any good process designed. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna approach this and do it differently. I'm gonna start talking about how do I need to get this work done. Not like, oh, we have this process, or I had this process at my last job and it worked really good. No. How do I get from point A to point B? Who are the people that I need to get, who need to be involved? What are the different components of it? And I wrote it down. And I also took that as an opportunity to say, hey, that's a really dumb way of doing that. It should just go from A to B, not backwards from A, Z, whatever. This is a great opportunity to refine process that you might have rather than building shitty AI on top of shitty process. Speaking of shit, I cleaned our data. Again, I've been talking at these things for a long time. I've always said, oh, garbage in, garbage out. But this time it's for real, folks. You build AI on top of really bad data, you're going to get really bad AI. So take this opportunity to build a gold standard of your data that you can run agents off of, because if you just try to run it off of a bunch of garbage, you're going to get a bunch of garbage. This is feeling really constricting, so I'm just going to keep walking this way. It feels weird being back behind this, though. Oh, whatever. And then I went out and I was working with the tool, I was finding tools, and then I was working with vendors. I was working with Adobe. I was working with Knak to say, hey, these are the things that I want to do. What's possible? And what will you build me? Or what can I build to make it possible? And then I had the luxury of working at a frontier lab that's so building internal trust was relatively easy, but it wasn't at other jobs when I was trying to run an AI initiative. So building an internal trust and building that external trust and partnerships was really what was key to getting me to the next level. Took some time, still failed along the way, but this was an important piece. So the key takeaway there was that AI wasn't failing me. My approach to AI was what was failing me. I was going about it all the wrong way and giving it all of the expecting a lot, but not giving it the foundation that it needed. So fast forward to really this year when I started to really make a lot of advances with how we operated from an AI first perspective. So I had a boss when I worked at one of these ad tech companies. His name was Michael O'Connell. He's an Irish guy. And he always had these old Irish things. And I'd always come to him with these problems Michael, I don't know how to solve this. And he'd go, oh, hey, Jeff, how do you eat an elephant? And I'm I don't know, salt and pepper? I don't know. And he'd say, no, one bite at a time. And he didn't always go like this with his arms, but you get the idea. So I was channeling my inner Michael O'Connell. How do I solve this problem? I'm trying to automate campaign creation. So I broke it down into bite-sized chunks and then started building and testing AI agents on top of these bite-sized chunks, and I learned a lot. So the very first thing I did was just build an agent to read the campaign requests that were coming in. That's all it did. It read it, and it summarized it. And then I started seeing how it was summarizing, what information it was pulling, what things it could access, what things it couldn't. I did all of these things to start to really understand how these agents work and what was working and what's not. From there, then I started expanding. Okay, well, tell me what I need to do next. What would you do next with this request? Then, okay, well, you say this is an email. Why don't you build UTM parameters based on this spreadsheet of UTM parameters that I have, the context? And then start telling me, based on what you know and the past tickets that you've seen, how long do you think it will take me to do this? And it started scheduling tentative due dates. From there, I started to have it define the next steps. So, okay, we think this is an email campaign. You need to confirm the from address. Make sure that the subject line is there. Everybody forgets a stupid pre-header. This was before I had Knak writing all of my pre-headers. And all the other components. It was basically listing out, here's what you got. And by the way, here's the missing information that I would need, I as the agent would need to finish this task. Then I got into connecting it into the tools, which is where I get really excited, and I built out my own MCP into Marketo because they didn't have it until yesterday. And I started working with Knak and saying, hey, this is what I want to do. Here's the data that I want to push into Knak. Let's build it. And then we do the damn thing, right? There's an action on the end of all of this. Go. Do it. So what I built should probably look relatively familiar, right? We get a campaign brief. We break it out into tasks. This is what I do as a human. I get a campaign brief. I break it out into tasks. And then I go and do the tasks. But what does this actually look like in practice, right? Well, let's see. Oh, just kidding. I'm one slide ahead of myself. This, collaboration, basically, marketers submit a natural language request into a Slack channel that's read and creates a ticket within Linear. Linear just drops the direct natural language into Linear as the ticket. I then have OpenAI agents going in, reading that request, summarizing the request, labeling the request, giving me a bunch of the information off the back end, and then I can activate in Adobe, in Linear. I write back to Linear saying, oh, this is what I did, this is done. Actually, done is a human reserved task to mark something as done. It goes to in review if an agent completes it. And also into Knak. The order is a human error, not an AI error. I take all responsibility for weird things in this deck. I wrote it, not AI. So let's double click on this, right? Let's talk about this email. So I get a request in, right? My colleague Lucas slacks this Ask MOPS channel. Hey, I want to send out an email about a Codex on Campus webinar that we're running. This is real. This happened last week? Whenever April 14th is. And then there's a link to the Google Doc. Next, the agent jumps in from Linear, reads that request, and spits out some information. Hey, you're missing these things. Here's the campaign name. Here's the target audience. Here's the original request, just so you have it for reference. And here are the next steps that you should be taking off of this request. All right. There's also a suite of subtasks that are then created to do the different things, right? I also just hot off the press have started getting my agent to tell me how confident it is in being able to do the task that it recommends with the information that it has. Right now, 67% is the line. So if it's above 6.7, I didn't make that up. It just happened to be that way. If it's at 68% or above, then it says I could really go and at least glean all the information that I'm missing from what I have without getting, the goal there is to say, okay, you're confident enough to do it, go and do it up to a point. But right now I'm just playing around with this confidence score. And also working on automating like some back and forth communication where the agent just goes directly to the human rather than me having to go in and do it. But this is all part of that. And then the third step there is actually, that's my finger, and that arch is a go button. I go in and review every single task that comes in, and I say, yeah, agent, you did a good boy. Like, you did a good job. And I click go. And then that kicks off the magic to go and start running. And there's ongoing debate on whether or not this is a mop or a broom. I don't think brooms carry buckets, but we can talk about that afterwards. It looks like a mop to me. So then part of that magic, and one of those subtasks is actually to go and create an email. So part of that webinar is like, hey, we want to invite people to a webinar. So what my agent does is pulls out the information into content blocks and then pushes it through the Knak MCP into Knak. It thinks about it for a second. It's pulling it. That's my little Codex avatar. He's my best friend. Not really. I have a life, I swear. And then it tells me it's done, and I click into Knak, and from that Google Doc, it's created this beautiful on-brand campaign email with UTM parameters, with all the stuff that's like really, I mean, this one was ready to go right away. But from within Knak, I can then ping people on my team to go in, make any edits. Oh, that line break looks weird. They're going in there, collaborating with other people, translating the asset if it needs translated, and then getting approvals. All within Knak, and I don't have to touch it. And then we can sync it downstream to actually activate these campaigns. From there, we've built, vibe coded a kind of a marketing calendar, which when Steve on my team showed me this, I almost started to cry because this solved a problem that I've been facing my entire career. People being like, yeah, you have a calendar, but what does the email look like? Well, we just called out to the Knak API and pulled in a preview directly into the calendar. So not only do you see what is being sent, you can see what it looks like. And if you want to, you can actually go to the asset in Knak to make edits directly from this calendar. And then finally, once it's all ready to go and sync to your thing, whatever tool that might be, that's me again. I hit the go button. I send the emails. My agents don't send emails. I have a very hard restriction that is not possible. I've told the agents they're not allowed to even try, but I've hard-coded it into Marketo, into the API, into Marketo, into APIs, into SendGrid, and the other tools that I'm sending emails out of, where those API users cannot send an email today. Maybe later, but right now, maybe if the confidence is 69%, then they can do it, but right now, no. I hit send, I review everything, I'm there double checking. And then once it's sent, we get another dashboard that's actually pulling in information on the email campaign. This went to a very small audience, but it's giving us information, and what this is filtered on just that one email, but this pulls in information from across all of my different email sends, excuse me, and I can compare and contrast against other sends and sends over time and how this performed against other emails, what accounts got sent this email, what links were clicked in this email. No longer do I have to go in and pull 3 different reports and join them together. It's all in one dashboard. And then there's our handy preview too. If somebody wants to see what the email actually looked like, you can see that there. And that's not the last step. I have the agent write back to the original Slack request and say, oh, by the way, here's how this performed. And the next step is actually pulling in some of the additional metrics that I get out of Knak now, things like dark mode, light mode, performance, stuff that's not coming out of my ESP, but is coming directly out of Knak. Steve probably has that being built right now. And why did this work versus when not before? Basically, I took each individual bespoke task and I created an agent that was doing the one thing. I could test and iterate and optimize based on that one thing rather than this like daisy chain of a bunch of stuff. I'm there. I'm checking things. I'm not as intensely in the loop now that I've built a lot more trust with what the agent can do and can't do. I still verify at the very beginning that it's figured out what kind of campaign, because even I have a hard time with some of the stuff my marketers request. But I'm there double checking, and then I'm optimizing and fine tuning what I'm doing. There we go. On like really, it's pretty much daily, but I do have a weekly review with myself and a few other people where we go through the agent outputs and see what it's done well, what it's not done so well, what it's done meh, and we fix the not so well and the meh so that it gets better, and we do it all over again every week. So really, instead of like trying to build this big, like crazy system, I actually thought about how do I need to actually get work done and how do I build towards that instead of what I thought or what I wanted it to do. So now we're to like right now, and what I'm building next is really to move away from me being a bot commander where I'm in there double checking everything and building more confidence to really enabling marketers to like be a bot commander. They get to drive and I'll hold the map, or I'll draw the map for them. But I really want to get out of campaign building, list uploading, copy and pasting copy from Google Docs into an email editor. Like that drains my soul. It's not something that I want to spend time on, and it doesn't use my brain. This shit's cool. I love to do it. It's been really fun. I haven't been this excited about my job in probably 10 years, which says a lot. And then the other thing is like meeting the marketer where they work. There's still this request to like go into Slack into a separate channel, but what I want to start to do is start invoking this from where my marketers are. My marketers spend a lot of time in ChatGPT. They should have the ability to kick off this campaign directly from within ChatGPT. If your marketers spend a lot of time in Adobe, let's make it easy in Adobe where you can just build it there. With guardrails, with all of the checks and balances that we have in place as marketing ops people. Slack, Knak, Google Docs, the list goes on, and it's going to be different for you than it is for you than it is for you, and like that's the cool part. This is extensible. We can just like plug and play with what we want. And the other cool stuff that we're building, like in partnership with Knak, is really about agentic email generation, so that we're giving Knak a goal, and Knak can build off of a suite of approved pieces of content, approved assets, approved subject line lengths, colors, all of that kind of stuff. And instead of having to like feed the content, we're just saying go and write an email. And then optimizing the emails off of that. So taking, hey, the content block A performs better than content block B, so I'm going to start recommending content block A more than B. And this all ties into really an agentic omni-channel nurture that I think is really the future. It's going to look a lot more like how we run paid advertising than how we, like from an email perspective, how we run a paid advertising campaign than how we run a lifecycle campaign. Because I'm in marketing ops, but I like different things than Steve, who's on my team, who's in marketing ops at the same company. So why am I just assuming that we should get the same content? Like hyper-personalization at scale is really like where my mind's at next. And I'm working with Adobe, I'm working with Knak on building those partnerships so that I can execute on those. And that's really all I have. I want to give it back over to Brendan so he can talk a little bit about some of this cool stuff that Knak is doing. And then we'll open it up for some questions at the end. But appreciate the time.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
Before you go anywhere, Jeff, I wanted to ask you a question.
Yeah.
One question. I'm just going to go ahead and address the elephant in the room. Jeff, that's you, by the way.
The elephant?
Yeah. Yeah, the other guy's me. Don't eat it.
Looks tasty.
Yeah, I know what everyone's thinking. I'm thinking it too, Jeff. Why doesn't OpenAI just use ChatGPT to create their emails?
I think I tried to varying degrees of success. I guess the way to think about it is like I could hire just like a general handyman to come and like fix my electricity. I actually had an outlet go out in my apartment the other day, and I could hire just like some random dude on Thumbtack or whatever who's like a handyman, and he'd probably do it. It would probably take 10 times as long and probably like wouldn't be that great when I plug in my vacuum cleaner and like start a fire in my apartment, but I could hire an electrician, right? And know that it's done exactly the way that it needs to go. And I think that's why, the use case that we used Knak to solve for at the beginning was different. And the reason why we've stuck with it is just because Knak is the expert at that. And I have the confidence that everything is on brand, that everything's gonna work downstream, that I don't have to then take the email and send a test and then wait for somebody to approve it in a Google Doc. I can run all of that within Knak, along with that just like security of if this email ends up on LinkedIn, Pierce is going to respond and make sure that it wasn't Knak's fault and that it was actually just like my bad in the system side. So, yeah.
True story, right?
Yeah, that's a true story.
Yeah, nice. Thanks a lot. And that's really, what Jeff was describing there. I think it goes beyond just good rendering emails, right? We're talking, with our customers, they really value things like brand guardrails and all the things that humans interact with and do in your creation and production workflow, right? Yeah. And that's the part that, good email is actually, a good email production process is more than just good rendering emails, right? It's the entire end-to-end workflow, as Jeff just showed. And so this week, we just announced our Knak AI connector. That's our MCP, where you can go from places where your marketers work, like ChatGPT or Slack or anywhere else, and kind of kick off that creation process, or add your agents kind of into your workflow at the points where you want them, right? Where you want to drive that efficiency into your process. So I'm going to talk through a couple other customer examples that we have today. I want to stress that what Jeff and OpenAI are doing, they're doing it right now. It's happening. They're already using this workflow to do their production for all of their emails. And we have lots of customers who are infusing AI into their workflow for producing campaigns. Again, already happening right now. So I'll take you through a couple of them. Anyone here heard of Stripe? Anybody? A couple folks? Okay. So they have, in their workflow, it all kicks off with a marketer creating the email and landing page in Knak. Then the very next step, the QA step, they've actually created a custom agent which pulls the email that the marketer created or the landing page out of Knak, and it validates that it actually matches with a certain level of confidence against their campaign brief that kind of kicked off the whole process. And then what it does is it goes through that checklist, like a validation checklist, and it gives back Knak an either pass or fail kind of thing in our platform, and then it either goes back to the marketer and says, hey, you need to make these tweaks or edits, or it passes and it kind of continues down the process so the marketers can collaborate, approve, and deploy through Marketo for Stripe. Meta has a very different approach to this. They've actually created their own custom campaign agent, which actually builds the frameworks of all of their campaigns. Hey, this campaign, based on the brief, should go to this audience. It should have, 5 emails in it, a landing page, and it should, go at this cadence. So it's kind of the framework for what's needed. And then what that agent does is it actually calls the Knak MCP to go ahead and generate the asset in Knak and drop the marketer in there to continue the workflow from there. Okay? Do collaboration, tweaking, approval reviews, so that's ready for production, and they can send through their marketing automation platform from there. Next company is Amazon. Amazon actually, one group at Amazon called Amazon Marketplace, they do things a little differently. So they actually start out by taking a campaign brief and they translate it with a platform called Smartling, who's a partner of Knak. And they translate all of the campaign briefs up front. And what they do with those translated briefs is they pass them into Knak in their own language for Knak to generate based on their approved template. So they kick off that creation process with fully translated emails, and then it goes right into the hands of the regional marketer to continue the process. So they review and approve in Knak, and then again push it downstream to their marketing automation platforms from there. They use multiple platforms. One's a custom one and one is a commercial platform. Last example I have here is AT&T. AT&T, everything at AT&T starts in Figma. Okay? They have a designer in Figma designing the email, and they push that email into Knak. This is all human-led stuff so far, okay? So the marketer is actually building the content into the email in Knak after it's designed in Figma. Meanwhile, what's happening is they have a studio team who's actually generating pieces of content, imagery, copy, in Adobe Gen Studio, okay? And then the next step is those assets that are generated by AI in Adobe Gen Studio are dropped into Knak. So the marketer adds all of those pieces that came from Gen Studio that were AI generated, and they actually create dynamic and personalized versions of their email with those pieces from Adobe Gen Studio. Then again, they go to the next step, they review and approve in the Knak platform, and then they deploy from many different marketing automation platforms from there. So, in summary, we've launched our AI connector here this week. Come to our booth where we'll show you how you can kick off your generation process from ChatGPT or other LLMs. We'll show that to you live today at the booth. And then we'd love to answer any questions you have about what all of our customers are doing with their workflows and how they're infusing AI into them using our MCP and where they place the marketer inside that process at different spots. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. Please come by the Knak booth.